Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, June 14th, 2024. My name is John Pieranunzi, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. Out of Europe, we had the French inflation rate. We also had the Italian balance of trade, the Euro area balance of trade, and a few ECB speakers. All told, Europe is down about 1%. Coming into the US hours at 8:30, we have import-export prices. And at 10 a.m., we have consumer sentiment, likely the bigger mover. 1 p.m., Baker Hughes rig count. And at 2 p.m., Goolsbee speaks. Cook also speaks, but that's after the weekend has begun? I don't know, one of those words. Quick look at the monthly chart, just very briefly. The only thing to note on here today for me is that we're still above the prior month's range, which still, I'm still considering this to be price discovery higher on the monthly, which is the most bullish market condition. The weekly also remains in price discovery higher. However, noticing a little bit more of a retracement on the weekly. Let's discuss that when we're looking at our daily chart. Grab this. So here's our daily chart. This profile is the last 2 weeks. If we see this week, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today's Friday. Tuesday was able to take the prior day's low. Other than that, pretty bullish. Yesterday was an inside day, and today we have already taken the prior day's low. And I have this retracement here on our developing weeks range, and what I'm just noting about this is we settled in the upper quartile. We've already retraced lower, taken the prior day's low, and are threatening a test of the mid of the developing range if sellers are able to hold. But something else I want to talk about on this chart, though, a little bit more, is this developing profile we have, which is a very clear double distribution. This is a 2-week profile. So we have the HVN here, we have the HVN here, and in the middle, we see this. We see the low volume node. So the thing, when I see something like this, what I'm kind of looking at, it's almost like It's almost like a hill. Like if we put this, set it on its side, it's like price will want to stay here until sellers would force it to kind of roll down the hill, which they have. And then we get to this center line, or the HVN, and it's almost like the momentum. If the sellers have enough momentum, they'll push it the whole way to this HVN, but if they do not have enough momentum, then we'll bounce off of that. So really what I'm looking for today, if we hold below the prior day's low, I'm open to continuation towards this HVN, which is 63s. I'm not saying we get there today, but if we hold below the prior day's low, and then we push below this HVN, which is right around the 5400s, I would expect us to work towards the 63s. If instead we reject these prices around Century and get back into range, then I expect us to work higher towards the 24s and the prior settle. But we'll go over that on a smaller time frame chart. But it's just very important to recognize this profile that's being formed and what it means. As well, we have to recognize that the prior day is an inside day and we've already taken the low. So these are things we're aware of. Let's take a look at our structure chart. Find it here quickly. Oops. Okay, so here on our structure chart, we're reloading for some reason. Oh boy, what's happening now? Oh, wrong time frame. Let's fix that. Use 2 hour, which is what we've been doing. Sorry about that, everybody. And we're back. Okay, so what we had been looking at is we had this area of balance, which we talked about. We got our break higher from it. And then we had this area of balance forming up here. I talked a lot about the 17s, very important level. And what we got yesterday was one of the scenarios that we talked about, which was a test below the 17s that tried to hold and then reverted higher. And that was really the trade of the day, in my opinion. There were some opportunities to get on the short early if you were of that mind. But for me, the key trade, the key structure trade was really this test below the 17s. It was a clear level. We talked about it a lot. Got the test below, reversion above, and it got the whole way to the prior settle. So that was easily the trade of the day, in my opinion. It also set up picture perfectly with a structured pullback. See, here we have the higher time frame bias, just like I talk about on the larger time frame charts. And we had our first pullback from this higher time frame, and so we got a perfect structured pullback to our prior settle target that was available. That's a setup that I talk about a lot at Convergent. I've done webinars on it, and it's set up picture perfectly to take this trade. So if you're a Convergent member, review the webinar, and it just happened perfectly. So anyway, the key here on this structure chart, just like I said, here's the profile I was talking about. And what we really want to find out today, do sellers force prices to stay below the prior range and below settlement, in which case, or I'm sorry, below the prior range and below century, in which case we are breaking lower from this balance, and our key target would be gap close on this time frame. And like I mentioned, on the weekly time frame would be this HVN, which is right around the 68s. This is 2 vola down, so that's quite a lot of distance. That's why I said we might not get it today, even if the intention is there. Or the other scenario that we might get today, which is a reversion, a rejection of the 5400s, reversion back into range, and move higher to take out these auction levels available from the prior day's auction. Let's discuss that on our trigger chart. Go to that here. I don't think I can get that profile visible, but regardless, we know where it is. So anyway, here is our trigger chart. What areas are important? Well, like I said, century down to the overnight low. Then we have this kind of region, 92s to gap close, which also includes the prior week's high, which is important today. This area, and then this HVN region that I discussed, which is right around 66s. Above, we have our 17s, which is that price we talked about yesterday, 16, 17s. Important area. Prior day's VPOC. Prior day's settle. Prior day's high, and this 46 to 50 region I talked about. Above that, we have our all-time high and our 1 vola up region, which kind of stretches us up to the 75s. So this is kind of what we're looking at today. Let's discuss a bullish scenario first. Why am I discussing a bullish scenario? Well, this is the first pullback from a new high. So things to remember here. This is the first pullback to a new high. We're a little bit more tentative with the bullishness because we did get the first pullback to a new high that did not take the prior high. So that has me a little bit more tentative with my bullishness today. However, my primary expectation as of right now is for reversion. That's not super solid, meaning that I could easily see either thing happening today. However, initially, based on the larger time frame, I'm bullish. So how could this happen early? Well, what could happen depending on between now and the open? It's looking like we're kind of trying to find some buyers. maybe, although this low doesn't look super secure. But regardless, the key here is going to be maybe we take this low pre-market, maybe we open here and then we take this low, or maybe we don't take the low. Regardless, the important thing here for me is going to be whether or not we get back above the RTH low and hold. So it's like we're going to be looking for what do we do? What do we do here? Do we, even if we take the low, do we take it and then we're unable to get back into the RTH low and then we push towards this 92 region? Or do we take it, maybe not take it regardless, but we get back above yesterday's RTH low and hold? If we get above yesterday's RTH low and hold, I'll expect us to move back to these 17s pretty quickly. And then the 16, 17 area, maybe it just goes from the 16, 17 area to the prior VPOC. Maybe it pulls back and we have sort of a decision area between the prior low and the 17s that then could either push higher or push lower. But regardless, we really want to be aware of this area between 16, 17 and the prior low, that 10-point range. Let me show it here. We really want to be aware of this area and how it acts. If we get above the RTH low, we're looking for 17s. If we get above 17s and we hold, we're looking for the prior VPOC. If we get to the prior VPOC and we're able to hold, then we're looking for settlement. This is a trade that a lot of people will be looking for, and it could be a really good trade if it happens. It's congruent with the idea of lower highs, because getting settlement or close to settlement would be congruent with this sort of lower high situation we have. After this, who knows, maybe we go higher, maybe we go lower, who knows. But this possibility, this would be probably the best trade. If we somehow get some type of reversion higher, holds above the prior day's low, shows us we can trade above 17s, then we're looking for the prior VPOC, and potentially, if things get really good, the prior settle. This would be the cleanest, best trade we could get on the long side. Like I said, it'd be congruent with this whole idea of lows kind of coming in, so that works. And it also would be congruent with a break higher that would continue for the RTH high, which is a possibility. So that would be kind of the trade of the day for me. Let's talk about if it goes lower. Same kind of thing on the other side. If it goes lower, we could see it. It could immediately go lower, just sort of push lower from here. Never really kind of get back into the RTH, into the prior day's RTH range. You could just kind of push lower from here. I will flag, however, though, just like I always do, if we get to especially the prior week's high, could be an important price. If we see that we're not going to get the reversion trade early and instead we push to test the prior week's high, things could get choppy here as the market kind of decides if it wants to settle above or below the prior week's range. This could be an area where we see the reversion happen. It's a possibility. We could also see it with a hold just above the prior week's high, or we could see it with a test below, just like what we got right here. This is what I'm talking about. If we get like a test below that everyone's not sure and then it reverts above, we saw it perfectly right here. So review that if you're wondering what I'm talking about when I talk about a setup that happens like this. But we could get that. If we test the prior week's range and we do not revert out of it, then to me that's going to be a pretty bearish situation. Like if it's Friday and we push the prior weeks into the prior week's range after trading above it for quite a bit of time, attempting to hold. If we can't get back in range, that would be pretty bearish, and I would expect just kind of a slogging drift lower into the close, and the target for me would be these 66, 68 region. That's the HVN below. So the key here, guys, we'll go over this again. Let's do this, get the yellow. So we have developing overnight low, Century, then this region, and then we have the RTH low and the 17s. This whole kind of like kit and caboodle right here is going to be our decision area, and it's also going to be the site of if we get a nothing scenario, it could happen in here. But so let's talk about it again quickly. All right, first area, if we get above the RTH low and we hold back above, we're looking for 17s. Trade to the 17s, and the question is, are we going to hold this, hold pullbacks to the 17s, or just go? Either way, if we resolve above 17s, we're looking for the prior VPOC, 26s. And if that continues to hold, we're looking for settlement, which is up here. So that's our most bullish scenario. Alternatively, if we cannot get above the RTH low, or we cannot get above and hold the 17s and we revert lower back below, and sellers show us that they're going to keep price below the RTH low, we're looking for Century, we're looking for the overnight low, and then we're looking for this 92 to 85 gap close region. That could be where the buyers show up. If they don't show up there and price just keeps going below the prior week's low, then we're looking for 68s. But we're also aware of the potential for the just quick test below and the reversion higher, like what we saw here. So those are the key plays and key areas where I think it could happen. We have to be aware of RTH low and 17s. If we get clear of those, we're looking for prior VPOC and settle. Below, we're looking at Century and the overnight low. If we get below that, we're looking for 92s to 85s, the gap close. If that does not provide support, then we're looking for 68s. That's what we're looking for today. And what happens if we get nothing at all tradable? Well, it's probably going to happen in this area, quite possibly. Just a whole bunch of nothing that goes up and it tests the 17s. We're like, oh, we're going to rally. And then all of a sudden, no, it falls down and it tests the 90s or the 85s. No, we're going to break. But then it just messes around in here. If it's that, if that's what happens, then like I say, that's an environment where I would be looking to scalp for stats. I probably won't hold runners, and I'll probably leave early. So that would be this would be the nothing scenario. As well, be aware sometimes we get a quick repricing for our nothing scenario, which could mean, we just immediately impulse lower to the prior week's low. And then our nothing scenario could happen around 68s to 85s as we decide, oh, are we going to settle within the prior week's range or not? And then at the end of the day, we could get the decision where, okay, we're going to settle above the prior week's range, or no, we're going to settle below. So be aware of that. A quick repricing to another area that isn't continuation, that just ends up being chopped. That's another way this could happen. But ideally, today we'll get some type of a trade, hopefully, potentially from Century to the 92s or the 85s, or from RTH low or 17s up to the prior VPOC or potentially the prior settle. Those would be the plays I'm looking for today, and those would be the areas I'm looking for them to play out. I'm going to wrap it up today. It's Friday. I hope everyone is having a good day, a good morning in progress. I hope that you can find some way to improve your trading today, and just have a wonderful day overall. And of course, as always, I hope you can make somebody else smile.